be honest, guys. There are some mixed opinions still on how the Green Bay Packers did in the 2025 NFL Draft. And if I'm being candid with you, I've got some mixed opinions as well. I really like some things they did, but I also really didn't like some things that they did. However, I'm still really, really excited about the wide receiver talent that they brought in very early in this draft, in the first 2 days, in the first round with Matthew Golden, and then in that third round with Savion Williams. And the cool thing is I think these were two of the most intriguing players in the NFL draft, okay? You had Matthew Golden, who his senior year in Texas was his best year in college, and then goes out and runs a blazing time in the 40. And then you have Savion Williams, who is like a bigger and almost faster version of Deebo Samuel, who has all the potential in the world. And the good thing is I'm not the only one that is excited about these two guys. I'm not the only one that sees a very bright future in these two guys. Because on today's show, we're going to look at some great news that us Packers fans got from NFL insiders about Matthew Golden. And then, of course, Green Bay's offensive coordinator spoke about Savion Williams. And we got a lot of great things to get into. We're about to get into it, but make sure that you guys are subscribed to the channel before we do that. I got great news to report. We're on top of our NFC North sub-battle, but barely. Literally one subscriber over Lions Talk, so I need you guys to do one thing for me. Hit that subscribe button. Help us extend this lead. I want to push it up by 20 or 30 subs. New viewers, I'm looking at you guys. We do this thing daily. Lock us in today. Help us win this sub-battle by subscribing. Alrighty, number one on this great news edition of the Packers Report. This NFL Insider had some really high praise for Matthew Golden, had some really great things to say about the wide receiver out of Texas. So basically, this comes from CBS Sports, one of their analysts. His name's Josh Edwards. And he made a list of players he feels like next spring could crack the top 100 players, okay? So it's a little bit of a, how do we see things shaking out in the 2025 NFL season and projecting what next year's projection might be. He had Matthew Golden in that list. Here's what he had to say about the wide receiver. Golden is the most well-rounded of the Packers wide receiver bunch. He was drafted to be the primary target in Green Bay's offense. Head coach Matt LaFleur's attack creates chaos and gets opposing defenses moving laterally across the field, which should create yards after the catch opportunities for Matthew Golden. And that's the great thing about Golden, is he's an absolute yak monster. This dude gets yards after the catch in his sleep. Once he gets the football, what I love about him is he has zero hesitation to move upfield, okay? And that's a problem you see a lot in college football and in the NFL even, right? Guys want to catch the ball, and then they want to start making moves, or they want to start moving east and west. They want to avoid the contact, right? Matthew Golden just gets north and south. He's like Cam Scattaboo when he's got the football in his hands. He wastes zero time getting upfield. And that is very rare for wide receivers his age, because he's still 21 years old, and for wide receivers of his size, right? He's not this massive 250-pound Calvin Johnson type receiver. No, he's a little bit smaller, but still, he knows where to go with the football once it's in his hands. How are you guys feeling about Matthew Golden? What is your confidence level in the rookie wide receiver in 2025? Scale it for me 1 to 100 in the comment section down below. 100, you are the most confident you could ever be. 1, you're like, I don't think it's going to be that great. Let me know your answer. Let's look at some advanced stats for him for this last season with Texas. Of course, he spent his first 2 years as a Houston Cougar, then hit the transfer portal, joined up with Quinn Ewers and Steve Sarkisian. His average depth of target in this last year was 13.5 yards, right? So even at his lack of size, he has a really big frame, and he's a guy that is a great deep ball threat. His yards per route run is 2.1, which is absolutely massive. And this is the great thing. The drop rate was 6.5. Now, his career drop rate for all 3 years in college was sitting around 9.4%, but he dropped that down and had a really, really good final year and only dropped 6.5% of that passes. Now, I would still like to see that number go down a little bit for Packers wide receivers in this room that struggled a lot with drops last year, seeing that number is really good. And you're getting him at the peak of his career. He had career highs in yards, receptions, touchdowns, and he did it all on a bigger stage in the SEC playing for the University of Texas. And just putting him in comparison with other wide receivers in that last draft, right? He had a higher yards per reception than Teteroa McMillan at 17.0. He had a higher contested catch rate than Emeka Egbuka at 61.1%. And he had a lower drop rate than Trey Harris at 6.5%. Each one of those wide receivers I just mentioned were absolutely glorified in those specific statistics. Teteroa McMillan and his yards per reception, Trey Harris and his drop rate, and then, of course, Emeka Egbuka with his contested catch rate. People like to pick and choose statistics for certain wide receivers all across the board, and what Matthew Golden has made it obvious is that he's one of the most well-rounded receivers, not only in this last draft class, but I truly believe going into the NFL currently. You look at the room, and it's gotten a lot better after the draft, right? We don't need to say that right now. You know that. But Matthew Golden fits in this thing perfectly. You can play him in the slot. You might think because of his size and speed, he'd line up there more often. He's going to be more of an outside wide receiver, and he's going to make cornerbacks on the outside pay for that. I've got all the faith in the world that Matthew Golden is going to be a beast in Green Bay's wide receiver room this season and for years to come. I have zero doubts about him as of right now. Can't wait to see what he does in training camp. Can't wait to see what he does in the preseason, however much he plays, and then, of course, when the NFL season rolls around. Andy Herman only, makes me feel better about it. He tweeted this out during OTAs. Everything Matthew Golden does just looks natural. Routes, catching, returning. He's one of those guys that is just born to do it. That's why this team spent the 23rd overall pick on him. That's why this team decided to break the 23-year-long streak of not drafting a wide receiver in the first round. Because Matthew Golden was there, he was available, and they figured, you know what? We're not going to get better than this. If you're excited about Matthew Golden, do me one big favor. Hit the thumbs up button on today's video. Like the video, cast your vote, and let me know how excited you are about number 22. The second part of this great news that you Packers fans got today, Adam Stenavich, the Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator, realized that he's absolutely spoiled. And who's he spoiled by? Of course, it's the other wide receiver that Green Bay selected in the draft in the third round, one Mr. Savion Williams. Here's the offensive coordinator, what he had to say about the wide receiver. He's a guy that's really interesting, whether it's handing in the ball or his routes down the field. He's a guy that can make some plays. You could come up with a zillion different ways to use him in your offense. So that's one guy who I'm really fired up about. And just let's be real about something, right? Adam Stenavich had probably the best offseason of anybody. He was just handed these two absolute weapons for a wide receiver room that many people thought were lacking and said, you know what? Here's two new toys. Go play with them. Go use your quarterback that many people believe is still a top 10 quarterback in the league. Here's two more weapons for him. Just go do what you do. Oh, yeah, you also have Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft. And the thing about Savion Williams is he's just an absolute freak of an athlete. This came from NFL draft files in very early in this year, as in calendar year, mid-January. Savion Williams is an insane athlete, they write. Led all wide receivers with 43 missed tackles forced. The next best, 32, 11 more. Taking snaps at running back, wide receiver, 6'4", 220 pounds, a 73.5 career contested catch rate, projected to run a 4.4 with a 40-inch vertical. However, the drops are a concern. We'll talk about those in just a little bit. Basically, I think he can be a bigger and faster Deebo Samuel. Think about what Deebo Samuel's career has been. He's been able to carry it out of the backfield in the shotgun. He's a guy that at times has been able to be a deep threat, although I would argue that Savion Williams is probably a better deep threat than Deebo Samuel is because that contested catch rate. But where Deebo Samuel thrives is when he gets the ball in space, right? Whether it's on just a little bit of a quick screen, whether it's on a bubble, whether it's on a 5-yard dig. Once he has the ball in his hands, he's a freak. He's led the NFL in yards after catch for the last 5 seasons straight. I think Williams can be that guy because he is a chess piece. He is a Swiss Army knife. He can do a ton of things very, very well. Now, I hope he's not one of those guys who's a jack of all trades but master of none, because he can do a lot of things, but can he do anything fantastic, elite, and great? We're yet to see that, right? We're going to see that this year. But for what he is coming in, Adam Stenavich should be grinning every single day. The problem with Williams, 9 drops in his last year of college. 9 with the TCU Horned Frogs. A 10.4% drop rate in his collegiate career. Those are 2 really big numbers. And those are 2 really big numbers that don't necessarily agree with the Green Bay Packers wide receiver. Because that's something I struggled with last year. We all know it. You know it. I know it. We saw it every single game. So that has to get figured out. Okay? And I know you've heard this before. But if the drops can get figured out, and I mean figured out not to the point where there's 0, but to the point where it's not just a glaring problem and a glaring weakness, Savion Williams can and will be dangerous for the Green Bay Packers. Of those 2 guys, who do you think has more touchdowns in 2025? You think it's Matthew Golden? Do you think it's Savion Williams? Let me know your answer in the comment section down below by typing those MGs, or if you think it's Williams, give me an SW. While you're down there, you'll see a big red sub button. I dare you to press it. Join us right here at the Packers Report for daily coverage of your favorite team in green and gold. 100% free. I can't say much more to convince you to join us. Over 7,500 cheeseheads have over the last 4 months. You can be the next one by subscribing today.